This is the first event that I've ever had did not finish. I've had other ones where I've walked half the way across the finish line or whatever, and I'm mad at myself from that aspect of it. But
welcome back, everybody. I am super stoked to have No Zero Days back on the show with Matt, Sean, Jon, and Sam. They all competed in the first Ryan Larkin Invitational Adventure Race, and I have many, many reasons to be thankful and grateful for these guys. And for one, they helped me get back home. I ran into some issues on the road, and I'm so grateful that they were there to help me out and get me rolling along. But beyond that, they were there for my buddy Ryan, and they're carrying his legacy along. And I know from the first show that we had with these guys and then getting to meet them in person, I know without a doubt that these are the exact type of individuals that Ryan would have loved to be around, would have surrounded himself with. And the fact that they are carrying on his legacy today means the world to me. So I'm very, very grateful for each and every one of you.
Thanks.
it was great meeting you, Brett.
Absolutely. So you guys had quite the experience. There was 62 miles in the terrain, in the heat, which apparently things are kind of... Did you guys light it on fire? Were you guys going that fast? Is that what's going on?
We were not going that fast.
No. I hear they're evacuating Montrose.
Man, there's
Really?
another one up in Steamboat now, too.
Wow.
And Steamboat?
Route count.
That is awful.
Big shout out for all the firefighters and all the folks involved. Man, there's just not enough of them right now.
Nope. I got some
Sure.
buddies that do that, and it is so challenging. So much work for them. So hot, like you said. I'm so glad to know that you guys are all out of that and that your families are safe. But so on the trail, you guys had a lot going on. What were some of your biggest surprises? I know Rob liked to keep a lot of these things pretty secret from the racers until the last minute. So was there anything in there that was just out of left field, completely threw you for a loop?
Yeah. Any of you guys want to go first? I
No.
will say we spent a lot of time being semi-acquainted with the region, kind of focused on the navigation piece. Sean, Jon, Matt, we met how many times in advance going over maps?
lot.
I don't know, 3, 4, or more
bunch,
times, sampling different GPS technology and really honed in. We got my son involved, one of his buddies, and Jon's son-in-law involved, and all of them with good backcountry experience. And I think we had a pretty good lock on the navigation piece and an advantage on maybe some of the other teams with some of the ancillary technology that we deployed. Matt happened to be watching one of Rob's Instagram posts and screenshotted a snapshot in the rule book and got some coordinates in advance. And we'd already had an idea what might be the route, playing on assessments of there's got to be some kind of road access and this and that. So we were pretty close. But yeah, then we had that couple coordinates and we started dialing in. So pre-race, I think we were pretty confident, wouldn't you say, guys, on the nav piece?
Definitely. Pretty good.
I'd agree with that.
And Sean really took point on that, and his experience and knowledge was just so instrumental there. I could think of a couple situations day one where we offered some correction to some of the other teams on the nav piece. But so back to your question, I think we were locked in on the navigation, but man, being a neophyte, not to adventure racing, but to this concept, right? This theme, this type of self-sustainment with carrying the packs. I knew I was going to learn a whole lot, but the learning curve was a bit more punishing than I...
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, it's kind of based on the escape, evade, exfil type model. And so Rob was kind of theming it as if you're on a mission behind enemy lines, and then all of a sudden you get attacked, the plan goes south, and you've just got to get away in a 4-man fire team and fight your way to safety. And so that's the setup that these guys ran into, and good on you guys for being prepared in advance, the GPS, being ready to navigate the terrain. But yeah, I think that he was kind of shooting for those very difficult experiences and really pushing people to their limits to get them to push through and see how far that they could go. And you've mentioned carrying everything on your back, and there was people with all different array of kit. Some people had a ton of stuff. Some people had more streamlined stuff. And then he added radios and ammo cans and all of this stuff. So whenever it comes to your kit selection, it sounds like that might have been something that in hindsight, you might have considered to dial in a little bit more prior to the event. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't think about it. You pick something up and you're like, oh, it's half an ounce. No big deal. And, we were carrying, at least I was, 2 pair of shoes and 2 pair of pants, long shirts, extra shirts, soap, stuff that 3 days of food, snacks, just way too much weight. And it was funny because we were talking to Ryan's dad pre-race and he said something that'll stick with me forever. Now, if it doesn't have multiple use, it doesn't go in the pack. And I had a lot of single-use stuff in my pack.
Yeah, that's some really good wisdom there from him. He is very, very diversely experienced and a wealth of knowledge in so many ways. Yeah, and the old adage, man, ounces equal pounds. Just trying to slim everything down, whether it's just if you're cutting off the handle of your toothbrush or something like that. Just every single little tiny thing that you can shave off pays dividends on the trail.
For sure. I think it was Nick from one of the other teams. He was cutting the ends of his straps off of his pack and he brought a Dremel out and he's dremeling down his back frame. And I was thinking, well, that's a little overboard. Yeah, I'm not. Did you see the way the guys of VetNet were running, how they were packed?
I did not get to take a look at their gear.
They're running with 22-liter day packs. I don't even know their sleep systems. I don't even know. Did they have sleeping bags even?
They just
I think they had
bags,
no tents.
Divvies.
Yeah,
No,
super streamlined. I heard day 2, there's a section they didn't even take water just to reduce the weight, calculating they probably wouldn't need it to get to an aid station. So I think that was a bigger risk than I would take. But yeah, those things, I would do it way different next time for sure.
Cool. Yeah. So leaning into that, what are some of the lessons learned that you had that you want to take into the next time? If you were to have to go again, what would you do differently?
I know
First
for me,
of all,
that,
it is go again.
Thank you, Sean. We are
What was
going
it?
again.
We're going
Yeah. Awesome.
January 17th. I already asked Rob. Sign up open January 17th.
Awesome. That's awesome.
I guess living in Colorado, I think it made me a little bit maybe overconfident about the elevation. Thinking that, yeah, you get up to 10 to 12,000 feet. Yeah, that's going to be rough. But, 6 to 9, it's, nothing. That's easy for us, even though I'm just, about 55. I know the other guys, down at Castle Rock, they're a little bit higher. But yeah, you sit there and you think about it. And I did not calculate all the up and down. I think, John was telling me afterwards, I think, day 1, even though total starting to finish was only, 3,000, we climbed over 4,000, over 4,500 vertical, up and down, up and down, up and down. So I think I thought just my training on the front range was going to be adequate, and it proved wrong.
In the heat.
I think, and then the heat, I think all of our packs were over 30 pounds, guys, when we were all like 32 to 35. So,
Easily.
leaving off, following up on what Sam said, multi-use purpose, and I think, I don't want to put words in Sam's mouth, but shame on him and I, because we've done some of these mountain races, running races, and we take all this food and we never use it. And I know all of us were like calculating out, I need this much food for day 1. For myself, I don't even think I ate half of my day 1's rations, and so.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And the aid stations really were pretty sufficient. There was probably enough resource there that we could have got by with a fraction of what we were carrying in food weight, for sure.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. As far as the water goes and the VetNet guys, I don't know that I'd be running off without water either, especially there were some issues on day 1. There were a few people that were having trouble keeping up with their water supply and things like that. So
Guilty.
we all ran out of water.
That. What's that?
We all ran out of water. We were all out of water. Yeah, I think, guys, like 4 miles before the first aid station, we were dry. Something like that.
That was the second aid station.
Second aid station.
Yeah, it was the second aid station.
Yeah, second aid station.
And thank God for that stream. And I'm not sure I would have made it, And I guess being a little bit overconfident, maybe. I don't want to say I was cocky. I just think overconfident. I should have made sure my water was, topped off at aid station 1. I didn't think about it.
Same.
And I mean, thank God for that streamer. I'd have been in rougher shape than I was.
Well, some guys were. We happened upon, I think, 2 teams at that stream, if I recall. And and one of them, they had left a guy to go get water for him who was like 4 miles back. And he was in rough shape. And we missed the cutoff by 5 minutes coming in day 1. And we were in bed 10:30, and those guys still had not returned. They were still on the trail. I don't know what time they got back, but they had to walk themselves out after being out of water and out there a long time.
Yeah, that's wild. It was wild. I remember I was on the other end of it, trying to help coordinate, get people fined, get people around, get water all the places they need to be. So I wasn't even on the trail, and I was like doing everything we could to get the things moved around to where they needed to be to the people and get the people kind of recovered. So I'm glad that everybody's safe. I'm glad that nobody got injured and that everybody finished the race. So
I think Rob, team, and and you, Brent, and everybody else really did a phenomenal job. I've been through this, and Jon and Sean both have seen the progression I've made with the race event that I put on, and I've got nothing but empathy and respect for what they were faced with and how they were able to coordinate in really a very short period of time. There were a lot of moving parts to this event, and the way it came together with all of the technology and the sport, pretty amazing they were able to accomplish it for year 1.
Yeah, I agree. There was a lot going on, and mission success, super stoked that it all went off how it did. You kind of brought me back to a question that I had there for a second. You're talking about aid station 1. Hey, we're not going to fill up water here. We're just going to keep pushing. Time. There was a lot going on at aid station 1. There was stuff that I wasn't expecting to be going on at aid station 1. Did you guys get to be a part of the interview sessions?
I know I
you
was.
might have
Sam,
blown past it.
I think you were, Sam, didn't you? Weren't you?
Oh, yeah. Man, it's hard to remember. That was a long, hot day.
That was a month ago.
I think when we came in aid station 1, Rob had something going on there.
Yeah. So Miss Icon USA was there. He was there, and they were doing interviews for all the racers, just getting feedback and stuff like that. And I can see how you might be a little overwhelmed and overstimulated, especially after having to go get the radios, being shot off target, and running through there and just cameras, microphones.
Oh, well, first of all, the start was epic.
Right? Yeah, tell us your experience with that. What did you guys see? What was your view on it?
I'll tell you that I expected something in the way of blank fire going on, but I was thinking all small arms, 5.56, butta kind of thing. But when I heard that heavy, and then found out it was a 50 cal, that really lit it up, and it echoed, and it put a sense of reality back in it. Took me back 25, 30 years, in a training session, and kind of bringing that around. So I think you did an excellent job with that. I think I won't speak for those that weren't in the service and hadn't been through one of those field exercises, but that was pretty damn close to exactly what we would do for field exercises. So great way to start the race.
Awesome. Great hearing that. Yeah, they had pyrotechnics, explosions, 50 cals, and small arms, like you said. So anybody else have a unique lens or view that they wanted to share?
No, for myself, I think I was kind of like daydreaming a little bit until it started. And I think we were all kind of antsy to get going too, right? I mean, for myself, it's like, I would have loved to have left at 6:00 in the morning because I just knew it was going to be hotter than you know what. And I'm like, shit, leave it at 9. And I'm just like, oh. And then when it hit, thank God there was, 39 other guys out there running. So I knew where to go because, I think I was kind of lulling myself to sleep a little bit when it hit.
Yeah, that was super cool.
I remember looking up the ridge, and I thought it was kind of cool. The guys were all dressed up in, Taliban gear and stuff like that and yelling and stuff. It was, looking back on it, it was pretty dang neat. So.
Awesome.
And then straight down the cliff.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say, man. They threw us right into that class 3 descent.
Yeah. It was wild. It was wild. It was good times. They had the moosh following you. So with the training environment, Sean, you kind of mentioned that, and that it took you back, kind of brought you back to some of your times in the Marine Corps and some of the field exercises. So are there any of the maybe a particular brutal or gruesome field exercise that you had in your training that this might have kind of helped you get through, or that it reminded you of, other than just like the breakout, the pyrotechnics, and the kind of explosions and firing?
That's a good question. I think we found a way to make most of our field exercises pretty brutal. But
Believe that.
what stands out to me was first Gulf War. I was deployed to the Philippines, one of the last infantry units to join the fight. We landed the day the air war started. So for a company of Marines, we had one Humvee and one 5-ton. So basically everything was on our backs. I'll tell you, partway through day one, that was a giant deja vu. I think I may even told this team here that, hey, we called that, the desert shuffle. You'd walk 4 steps and then hike that so you get where the straps of the old Alice pack were cutting into your neck. So it kind of brought that back, and then it just put me in a mode of just, hey, you got to keep going, keep going. So there was some reality stuff that what he put in place created or brought back a lot of those memories, Brent.
That's good. That's good. He's keeping it realistic, hitting the mark, doing what we're trying to do. That's good stuff. So we talked about the elevation. We got that. So at some point, where would you say that you started hitting your kind of, obviously we're a biological machine. We're all going to break down. We're all going to have our peaks and our valleys. It's going to start to redline somewhere. So I want to kind of go around the room and ask each person individually, what was your lowest personal moment on the trail, and who on the team pulled you out of it?
I guess I can start with that one. I think we were probably a mile or 2 out from the second aid station. And I started getting that poopy pants mentality, kind of talking down on myself and I need some more water and just making excuses. And honestly, Sean kind of stepped in and said, hey, let's wrap it up. Let's stop talking like that and let's keep moving forward, and it kind of put things in perspective for me because, I've never had that situation before. And, looking back now, I'm like, man, I was really sucking it up. And Sean kind of pulled me out of it, and appreciate him doing that for me. But, the training was awesome. Didn't expect the constant up and down and then, low on water and stuff like that. So I kind of let that get to my head. And I think maybe kind of affected the team a little bit towards the end, but, we still finished day one. And, that was probably my suck moment, I guess I would say.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Sean, how about you? He mentioned you. So did you have a moment?
Yeah, I think probably in that same bit of an area. And I'm going to look at it from a little different perspective. I looked at it as, hey, I've been in this scenario before, both training, both combat and race environments. And so I started to say, hey, leadership, you got to find a way to carry this team through. And at that point, through to me was all the way through day 3, right? And so I felt like it was what else could I have done, in my role? I think it was a lot easier to lead a company of Marines in combat than it was this team. And that's nothing against this team. It's me where the entire Marine company's focused and everyone's lined up. And I look back and I think the thing that I could have done better was in those months leading up to this race, put a little more emphasis in that part of our dynamic as opposed to just getting out and humping on the trail. So
that's really great stuff. And I know this question probably seems a little bit out of left field, but the reason I do bring it up is because that's the kind of guy Ryan was. And whenever you mention that leadership and that piece, he was the kind of guy who would lift others up, who would keep that morale up, who was the kind of guy that everybody else is kind of poopy faced and kind of down. Things are tough, training's tough. And he would be the one that just had that energy about him. So that's a big reason why I really wanted to inject this question in there. And thank you so much for sharing your stories, because not everybody wants to talk about whenever they're feeling low. That's not our comfort zone. So I do appreciate you guys stepping up, sharing these insights. How about you, Jon?
I think for me, it was the first one was when I realized I was running out of water. That kind of, I don't think it got me down. It kind of just scared me, from that aspect of it. And, again, thank God for the stream from that aspect. And then I think, from that aspect got going, even before, I think Matt was saying kind of getting the poopy pants type of thing. And Sean stepped in. Sean was he was that silent leader in a way. And what I mean by that is Sean just put his head down and just kept moving forward. He didn't look around, and he was communicating with us, but you kind of Sean almost, I would say, led by example from the fact that, he just picked up and started walking and just put his head down and just, one step, get to that tree, get to that tree, get to that tree, from that aspect of it. And then I think towards the end, after the second aid station, I think just my mental, moral, state, just kind of knowing that we weren't going to hit the cutoff, it just kind of dejected me that we were going to miss the cutoff. And, I think at that point I just kind of like gave up and said, well, I'm going to miss the cutoff. I'm out. I just kind of let it. I didn't say anything to it, but I just kind of, my personal internal, I was looking at that, and looking back on that, I'm really disappointed in myself and angry with myself that I kind of went that route and just mentally gave up on myself. I think Sam and I have had some conversations, and I know Sam's had a different, but let's just say, and this is the first event that I've ever did not finish. I've had other ones where I've walked half the way across the finish line or whatever, and I'm mad at myself from that aspect of it. But, again, I think Matt said it, and I'm sure Sam will say it too, but, Sean kind of stepped up, not only verbally, but non-verbally, became a leader and gave us an example to follow. So, I appreciate that. And not knowing Matt as well as Sean and Sam, but I think we all learned a little bit more about each one of us individually just by hanging out together. So I appreciate the experience.
Absolutely. Some of my favorite memories are really when things were pretty crappy, but you're right there with people, good dudes, and just whatever it is, either a laugh or this or some bit of quiet strength. And yeah, those are the memories that really stick with us. So I'm glad you guys got to experience that and see it from a different perspective, slightly different lens from a linear race in like a triathlon type area or just a marathon or ultra marathon or things like that. Don't get me wrong, those are absolutely brutal and challenging in their own right, but adding a few of these other elements changes the tone quite a bit. And how about Mr. Sam?
Yeah, I'm going to lean into what some of the other guys had mentioned.